make sure you do like the video tonight. If you do like the video, also subscribe to the channel where I do a bunch of other different types of content. If you just look through my channel, I do a bunch of different other stuff. And yeah, make sure to comment down below maybe your favorite player from this draft class. Would you draft? If your team was drafting this draft class again, definitely let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure when you know that I'm doing these redrafting videos, I do not redraft based off of like what team was picking where. So I'm not saying like, oh, this team had the 8th pick, and if they were redrafting it, they should have picked this player. No, I'm not doing that. It's just the redrafting of the players based off of, you know, where they are now and the potential, at least what I see from them from their point on. So this is just like the top 10, I guess, players of that draft or potential wise. But anyways, yes, redrafting the 2019 NBA draft class, really dope one, really tough one. That's kind of why I didn't want to do it / waited off to do it. But I think it's about time we jump into tonight's video. Also, if you guys had a draft class in mind that you would like me to do a redrafting on, I have done a lot of them over the years, and if you have one in mind that I haven't done yet, definitely let me know down in the comments if you want me to redraft one of the draft classes I haven't done yet. I'm sure you can look into which ones I have and haven't done. There's definitely a lot of them, but there are also some that I guess I don't know, still haven't done. Some of them are a lot better than others, I can tell you that. But anyways, we have the 2019 NBA draft going in with the number 10. I always do the top 10 picks. Pick number 10 was originally, let's see, were the Atlanta Hawks. So this is the Atlanta Hawks pick, but again, that doesn't matter. I'm just giving you guys some background. With the Atlanta Hawks pick, this pick was actually a pretty interesting player that is still playing in the NBA today, obviously, and a player I actually have a lot of high hopes for. But the player I am going to pick for this team, again, doesn't matter the team, that's just the player I feel like should be at least a top 10 pick, still has a lot of potential that I think is still untapped, and has definitely had some high highs, some low lows, but is playing on a very good team right now, and I think he's a pretty good contributor to that. Pick number 10, player number 10. I'm going with PJ Washington of the Charlotte Hornets. PJ Washington, Charlotte Hornets. This is kind of more of a potential pick. I do feel like PJ obviously hasn't really had enough time to really shine, I would feel. Let's see, this year is averaging only 10.5 points per game, over a block a game. Nothing too crazy, and really what's also kind of sad, only about 5 rebounds, so he's not even that crazy of a rebounder. Still kind of an undersized player at the 4, playing power forward, only being about 6'7". Kind of yikes, but definitely a good stretch for he's shooting, get this, 44% from threes, shooting about 5, making about 2.5 a game, which, wow, that's yeah, obviously very close to 50% on shooting threes, and he's not shooting barely any, he's shooting actually a pretty good number for, you know, the position he plays, which is pretty cool. And PJ Washington, over the past 2 years before this current year, was averaging nearly 13 points per game, so you can definitely see that he is there, and the potential is there for him to grow into a, you know, a 15, 16 plus point per game score, which would be really dope. And obviously now with this team heavily focused on, you know, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, trying to add in another big through a trade maybe, or drafting another center, I feel like he probably will get lost in the sauce of Charlotte, since they are becoming more and more of a developed team, which is, you know, good for the team, bad for him individually. But I feel like PJ Washington would really make a good are just small forwards playing that position. And obviously being a two-way player in a wing position is pretty important. And this player, again, making this spot because mostly of his potential was originally the 10th pick, but I'm moving him up one spot. It is Cam Reddish. Double D-I-S-H. Cam Reddish, number 9. So he was originally 10. Number 9, which, let's see actually what pick that was. That was the Washington Wizards originally. That definitely would be a pretty good play to have in Washington, that's for sure. But Cam Reddish averaging so far this year 11.5 points per game, over a steal a game as well. Barely assist a game, which obviously not known as being a sort of a facilitator, even in his college days. Shooting nearly 40% from threes as well, 38%, which is pretty crazy, and 41% from the field for being a young player. That is also very, very, very efficient. Again, PJ, Cam, definitely two players that are playing on very highly valued teams that definitely have really bright futures and a lot of good talent around them. Obviously, Cam Reddish with Trae Young and John Collins. We just talked about PJ with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. Players that could be lost in the sauce, which is kind of sad. I wouldn't be surprised if these players are combined with some sort of big-time trade to get some other star piece to sort of help, progress that team forward, which would probably be beneficial because I do feel like, again, these guys have untapped potential. More importantly, I think Cam, we've seen before in a lot of different spurts that he could be, maybe at one point in time, maybe the second option of this Atlanta Hawks team. Not, no nag on John Collins, but Cam Reddish, man, he could really be a great player, I feel like, in this league if he really got the chance, and not too sure if he's going to get that in Atlanta. You can look at his per 36 for Cam Reddish, averaging 18 points, nearly 2 steals a game. Like, that'd be super duper amazing to have, again, that sort of two-way wing player that, again, I feel like is just more of an important position than a power forward. Again, just two players really just off of potential, I think could really make a big splash in the NBA if they just have given the chance, and I think we can all agree that Cam Reddish, I feel like, definitely has that. Okay, next up, player number 8, player at spot number 8, also is a player that is a bit different than the other players. Still a young-ish player, but I think a guy who's definitely more of an established player, and maybe we have seen the best for him already, but if there's a chance that he could even improve, which we've already seen him improve by a lot, which is pretty surprising, if he could even get a little bit better, that'd be pretty terrifying because he's already known as one of the best defenders on the perimeter. And that is Mr. Lou Dort himself. I have no idea how to pronounce his first name, but we all know him as Lou Dort from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, very, very, very important, to say the least, because I think Damian Lillard just had an interview, and he talked about Lou Dort being one of the top, 5 defenders in the NBA, or at least, when teamed up, or not teamed up, when matched up against Damian Lillard. Lou Dort was one of the names he mentioned, which is pretty crazy. The 8th pick was originally the Atlanta Hawks. Lou Dort this year is averaging, get this, 17.5 points per game. I bet a lot of you didn't know that. I didn't when I looked it up. Only averaging about 2 steals a game, which, again, not really known as being a facilitator, and shooting also kind of in an interesting spot, to say the least. For me personally, I would really just put him above Lou Dort because, again, kind of like with PJ and Cam, I feel like this position is just a little bit more important, definitely for his size as well. Also being a very valuable player as well at being a great defender, but could obviously get better over time. We have here Kelvin Johnson from the Spurs. Now, again, might be a surprise to some people, but let me give you a little look-key on his stats this year, averaging nearly 15 points per game, 6.5 rebounds on 2 assists, also averaging over a steal as well. So again, having a little bit of that offensive game, really good defender. I keep hearing people talk about how good of a defender he is now and can be. And again, being a position, again, a wing that might be a little bit more important than a small ball 2 guard. I mean, if Lou Dort could facilitate like a point guard, then that'd be a completely different story. But being a small ball 2 is just, it does irk me a little bit. But also with Kelvin Johnson averaging 40% from threes this year, which is pretty insane. Nearly 50% from the field, averaging 47%. Pretty insane. I actually kind of want to take a look at his per 36. Yeah, his per 36 or 17 points over a steal as well. 7.5 rebounds. Like, his per 36 look really good. Obviously, that's a really good stat to look at for players who aren't getting a lot of minutes, which a lot of these players aren't. So, oh man. Again, this video is really tough because, again, this is such a tough thing to like order people in. And again, when I order these, I'm not saying Kelvin Johnson's better than Lou Dort or Lou Dort's better than Cam Reddish. Well, I guess you could argue that, but I'm just saying they're in this area, so you could argue either or. You could even put Cam Reddish at 7 because, again, his potential is just so high, but we just haven't seen it tapped into yet. But I still do believe he belongs in the top 10. Same thing with Kelvin Johnson as well. I mean, this dude is only, how old is he? He's only 22 years old on a Spurs team that still is developing him and trying to make him more of a two-way player. Definitely getting there, and I feel like he's also had spurts, kind of like with Cam Reddish, where he's shown up a lot, but just hasn't really had that big opportunity yet. So, Kelvin Johnson, a really exciting player, and I feel like, again, just being a bigger defender, a bigger body, I feel like then Lou Dort maybe is a little bit of an advantage. I have no idea, but Lou Dort is still an amazing player. So, next up, player number 6, and let me say this real quick. I feel like my next about 2 picks, 6, 5, and 4, those guys are even more arguable to be flip-flopped around from 4 to 6. I feel like that's very, again, opinionated in my opinion. Doesn't matter, it's wrong, it's doo-doo, it's garbage, it's an L take, whatever you want to say. It's wrong. This is just a fun video for entertainment, relaxation, yada yada yada. But so maybe another year or 2 of this type of effort, I think he could really get even better, and maybe I could change my opinion on him. But that was a bad D. D-A-R-I-U-S. Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, has the potential to be, top 5, even like I said, even number 4. Once you see the other players, you could probably make an argument for him. But again, really the only year I really have seen Garland really, show up to be that type of guy you can run an offense through. By the way, the 7th pick in that draft were the Chicago Bulls, and this would be the 6th pick, which would be the Phoenix Suns. So just a little heads up. But again, I'm not picking for those teams. I'm just giving you a little insight. But like I said, Darius Garland this year averaging 19.5 points per game. So nearly 20 points per game. 7 assists as well. Over a steal as well. He's shooting, nearly 90% from the free throw line. And nearly 40% from 3. 39%. Averaging about 7 a game. Making about 3 a game. Like, it's looking really good. And it's a very steep incline for not only his production individually, but obviously as a team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are in sort of that playoff position for the East, which is definitely the most important piece to that puzzle, is what were they going to do with Garland and Sexton. And in my opinion, I think Garland is really making a name for being, the guard they go to with in the future, and I really like it. I feel like, again, if this continues on, I feel like Garland is a player you can sort of, give the ball to, run the offense, be that true point guard that you guys have been looking for since, Kyrie Irving left, which I'm not comparing him to Kyrie Irving, but he can be that point guard for them. So, and, again, I'm not making the argument for this player at number 5 because he is averaging more points or anything like ridiculous like that, but he has shown that he can win on a team. He can show he can make an impact on a team, and again, as of right now, he is playing such good basketball. These guys are very switchable, but again, it's just a little bit more based off of consistency. Even though this player had a really struggling year last year, I think this year and his first year as a rookie really stuck out to me, and obviously a lot of other people, because it grew his popularity a lot. Number 5, I got Tyler Herro, and of course this isn't me hyping up Tyler Herro, even though his nickname is the baby goat and yada yada yada. And again, there's probably a lot of argument over Garland over Tyler Herro, and that's completely fine. I could completely understand that because again, you could probably run an offense more through Garland as of right now than Tyler Herro as of right now. But again, Tyler Herro already playing in the finals. Tyler Herro playing on a very competitive team. Tyler Herro having a lot of impact on that finals in that first year in his rookie year. Of course, had a pretty bad sophomore slump, which a lot of rookies go through a sophomore slump. He had a very bad, impactful one, but obviously, again, this year, dude's definitely the 6th man of the year. He might arguably be the best scorer on his team. Like, they, again, play through Tyler Herro a lot when he's getting going, so, he can also sometimes even play point guard for a team. I would love to see more of that in his game. Right now in the season, he's averaging nearly 22 points per game, about 4 assists, which is really good. I would love to see that a little bit more in his game, like I just said. Shooting 40% from 3, averaging about 7 attempts, 3 makes. Wow. Again, I think I would just trust Tyler Herro more on a consistent basis year by year, just from what I've seen, than Garland having, a really good start to this NBA season with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, again, nothing too crazy. I love Tyler Herro, really good player. Darius Garland, really good player as of right now. Again, before, I feel like this group is sort of grouped up. These two are sort of grouped up, and I think last season, but hopefully they will find their way. And again, with only being 21 years old, he just has so much potential to be, again, maybe at one point in time, a player you can play through, maybe be the number one option for a team. I have no idea. But now we are on to the final two. And this is, again, the easiest top three that we've seen in a lot of playoffs and a lot of drafts. RG being the third guy. 2 and 1, if you've noticed what draft we're doing now, are pretty big time names in the NBA already. And man, it's so tough to argue one over the other. And I actually really want to make a very bold statement and a very bold move. And I almost want to do it. I'm almost talking myself into doing it right now. I wish the NBA was injuryless, because if it was, this guy would probably already be an MVP or something like that in today's NBA. But player number 2, even though he might be the more, I don't know, ready to play player, I'm picking Ja Morant at number 2. And of course, Ja Morant is easily number 1 overall status, because he is literally a superstar in himself. Player number 1 has some crazy potential, but we'll talk about that later. We're talking about Ja Morant right now, who is, man, I mean, you could talk about him being basically a Derrick Rose 2.0. That's what I usually call him. This season, he's averaging, get this, 24 points per game, nearly 2 steals, 7 assists, and also, get this, a little bit better of a 3-point shot at 36% from 3. So, Ja Morant being the dunking phenom of the NBA, now getting a little bit of a 3-point shot. If he can get that up to like a 38% plus, that's terrifying, because he's already a great, two-way player. He's a very scrappy defender. Already a 6'3" guard, so definitely the perfect build for a normal NBA point guard, but also a pretty decent facilitator on a team that doesn't really have a lot of offense built into it. He's creating that offense for that team. It's crazy. And again, it only being his 3rd year, averaging some pretty ridiculous numbers and carrying a team to the playoffs already, which, hey, guess what? Player number 1 hasn't done yet. But it's just the fact that the player at number 1 has one of the highest potentials, maybe, of anyone that we've seen in a very, 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 very long time. And again, if you know what draft class this is, player number 1, kind of maybe even now a controversial pick for how injury prone he is. It almost kills me to put Zion at number 1, because again, of course, Zion, Mr. Injury himself, Mr. I don't know, whatever you want to call him, big boy, whatever, man, he looks massive, not gonna lie, but I don't know, dude. Just basing this just off of potential and how I can see them growing into a player. Zion already, like I said before, if he was fully healthy, could be a MVP type of candidate in today's NBA. Already being only 21 years old is just absolutely insane. Last season, since he hasn't played so far yet this season, last season we can look off of those numbers, averaged 27 points per game, nearly a block, nearly a steal, 4 assists, 7 rebounds. Yeah. Second year in the league, 27 points, 7 rebounds, a block and a steal. And that's him being like the most raw version of himself. He hasn't added a lot to his offense. His basketball handling is garbage, but man, I cannot imagine like year 10 Zion Williamson if it does go in the right direction. The wrong direction would be, this dude turns into like, I don't know, Sean Kemp 2.0, and we only get to see like 3, 4, 5 years of really good Zion, and then, the rest of his career he's just a big boy who's just kind of, not there anymore. But man, this guy could be one of the most, I don't know, dominant players Giannis history, obviously we see Giannis like that, but I think obviously with Zion Williamson being like a 6'6", 6'7" power forward with crazy athletic ability, can get to the rim whenever he wants. I mean, get this, the dude, when he averaged 27 points per game, was averaging it on 61% from the field. Over 50% of his shots were always going in. Like, that's just crazy efficient, and I don't know, it's just, he has all-time talent. I'm not saying John Morant doesn't, but Zion already does, and that's why I have to put him at number 1 now. That's really what I'm going off of. So, again, number 1, kind of controversial. We have Zion, John Morant at 2, RG at 3. I think, like I said before, this top 3 is pretty inarguable, I feel. Then we get to the most argument, I feel. DeAndre Hunter at 4, Tyler Herro at 5, Garland at 6 again. DeAndre Hunter kind of bringing that two-way, adding the defense, and then obviously you have the offensive juggernauts that Tyler Herro and Darius Garland could turn into is super crazy. You have Kelvin Johnson at 7, Luke Dort at 8, again two-way players who, again, very close like that, and then Cam Reddish and PJ Washington 9 and 10, very high potential guys who could even, be crazy, even better than all these guys. I have no idea. They just need that chance of untapped potential. So again, make sure you thumb this video up if you want. Again, comment down below maybe some other players we haven't gotten to talk about in this draft, or maybe your favorite players from this draft, where you see these players who can go in their careers. I mean, it's a great draft class, and it was just a lot of fun trying to think about this and doing this video for you guys. So hopefully you guys had some enjoyment. So, yeah. Anyways, I really hope you're doing well. Hopefully you are relaxing. Hopefully you are doing well. And make sure you like the video. Like I said, if you do like the video, subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you again in my next video very, 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 very soon. Alright guys,